morning and Assalamu alaikum. In a series of discussions that we had on organizational behavior, we today discuss attitudes and job satisfaction. Why we discuss attitudes and job satisfaction? If you refer back to the table, the diagram that we showed on the first day, what the organizational behavior model is. It is 3 levels of individual variables, group variables, and organization variables that all they end up to what we call it the human inputs, human outputs, which is productivity, absence, turnover, job satisfaction, and so many things that we discussed. One of the critical variables at the individual level, which has correspondence with the group level as well as with the organization level, is values and attitudes. Values and attitudes, if you see at the bottom of the individual variables, values and attitudes, they have interlink to motivation, behavior, and decision making, as well as it has relations and correspondence with the organization level, organization culture, organizational structure, design, as well as group attitude, as well as conflict, communication, so many things that we see at the group level. That is why we need to know what attitude is and how attitude determines our behavior and how attitude determines our decision making and our contribution in the end as the human output, how it affects our job satisfaction, what we are discussing specifically here. First of all, what attitude or attitudes are? Attitude is said to be evaluative, a statement or judgments of the objects, people, and events surrounding us. We are surrounded by objects, people, and events which makes up our environment, and we are interacting with them. And for a balanced and positive interaction, we need to have a perception and to have an attitude towards them in a balanced way, so that we interact in a balanced way. So in another way, they say that attitude is a particular way of feeling towards surrounding objects, people, and events, and generating behavior accordingly. Has 3 components. Attitude has 3 components. The first component is cognitive segment or cognitive part of the attitude. That is the belief, and that is the opinion you have about something outside yourself, or the object or the event or the people. You have an opinion and a belief about something. That is the cognitive part, and that is then translated to the second part, which is the emotional part or the affective part. Then you, for example, say that my pay is not enough. It's an opinion, it's your belief. But that is going to be translated to an affect or affection or emotion that you see, I don't like it. First of all, you're cognizant of the fact about yourself that your pay is not enough. That is a belief, it's your opinion. But it is translated to an affection or emotion or feeling that you're not happy with what you get. And then the third part is, once you think about something in a way, and then you feel about it in a way, then you're pushed or forced to have an intention to take action in certain way, in reaction to what you feel and reaction to what you think. And that is called the behavioral segment of attitude. So we talked about 3 components, and now we can come up with some examples. For example, the cognitive part, which is an evaluation. You evaluate in a situation that you come to an opinion or a belief that, for example, my supervisor gave a promotion to co-workers who deserved it less than me. That is some of the biggest problems in management and organizations that we have, everywhere. That you think that the supervisor is giving promotion to someone who doesn't deserve it as much as I deserve it. This is your evaluation. You think so. And then it is translated to the next level or the next segment of attitude, which is the affection. It's affective part or feeling part that I dislike my supervisor. It's automatically translated to an affection. You thought something, and that thought is translated into an emotion. You are emotionally expressing yourself that I don't like my supervisor. There are many people, they don't like their supervisors because of many reasons. Among them, they're unfair. And then what is the behavioral segment is the action you take. And here you come, I'm looking for another job. Those people who have this feeling, they always look around, they apply for new jobs all the time. But someone who is thinking that he is treated fairly, he is thinking that he is paid well, and he is thinking that the job he's doing is, promising, and it is encouraging, persuasive, he will not look for other jobs. He will continue because he has the thought that this is the right place, the right job, and this is the right pay, and it's the right people to work with. Then they will. And
that's supervisor.
That is going. So supervisor is one factor that I mentioned, but there are many factors that later we discuss. Does behavior always follow from attitudes? Mostly behavior follows attitude, but there are also examples and there are also some thoughts that attitude follows behavior. You do things, not because of your attitude, for any other reason, and then later on you realize that you accommodate your attitude to your behavior. This gives an example. This Leon Festinger is saying, no, the reverse is also sometimes true. That is a research on that they say, for example, they give in the book an example that a young boy, he doesn't like used cars. And he says that all imported cars, German and Japanese cars, are better than US. That is his attitude towards the US made cars. But when his father is buying him a Mustang, which is one of the good cars in US for young people, a Mustang car, and he drives for a while, and then he comes to another attitude that says, no, used cars are also good, and he feels and thinks differently than he was doing that before. That is an example that sometimes the behavior can change your attitude, but the question is, basically, if you want to be comfortable, stable, and happy in life, there is a need of consistency between the two. If there is consistency between what you think, what you feel, and what you do, you're more comfortable than thinking and feeling one way and behaving in a different way. That is called the dissonance, the cognitive dissonance, which is a problem, that you don't feel stable and you didn't feel comfortable in life. And there are many people, they don't know why they are not comfortable. There is a dissonance and there is an incompatibility between their attitude and their behavior. And for that reason, we need to know how we can be stable and consistent. Cognitive dissonance, as I mentioned, is any incompatibility between two or more attitudes, or between your attitude and your behavior. There are a lot of them we can see, like especially when we talk about some people here and there, that the people, they talk about religion, but they violate religion. They talk about ethics and they violate ethics. In their behavior and in their thoughts and their words, there's a difference. They talk one way and they behave in a different way. That is the incompatibility, which is called cognizant dissonance, that the people inside, they will not feel comfortable. They may gain in the world life and they gain everything, but while they don't have compatibility between their words, their thoughts, their feeling, and their behavior, then there is an incompatibility which makes them unstable and inconsistent and uncomfortable. So individuals all the time, they seek to bring some sort of stability and consistency between their attitudes and between their attitude and their behavior. Everybody tries to do that, but why they are not able, there are reasons, because they call it, then later we talk about the moderating factors. What moderates, or what moderate this consistency and relationship between the two. So consistency achieved either by changing your attitudes or changing your behavior to make it compatible, or rationalization. Some people, they talk about rationalizing your behavior while you're talking one thing and doing another thing, and then you try to rationalize your action or your behavior. A good example is given when the executives of the big tobacco companies, they know and they feel that tobacco is hazardous, but they rationalize their production and business of tobacco globally. They think that in US culture, it's part of the US cultural values to have a free choice. We give free choice to people. If they want to smoke or not smoke, then they rationalize their wrongdoing. They rationalize their wrongdoing. That is another way. Either you change your attitudes or change your behaviors to make it more compatible, or to find a way to rationalize. And we, a lot of times, even in politics in this country, you can see those rationalizations. The people, they rationalize their wrongdoing in order to bring satisfaction or comfort to their own thoughts and feelings.
There is a good example also. For example, in tobacco, cigarettes, they are not banned. They don't want to ban it. They just want to use tax.
Oh, these are just ways. So the desire to reduce dissonance depends on three things: the importance of elements, the degree of individual influence over it, and rewards involved in dissonance. First of all, those attitudes and behaviors which are highly important for you as a values, as your interest in life, then that can be, it's possible to change according to the importance. If it's less important, it's easily changing in one behavior or attitude. If it is important for you to the level that you cannot change it, it is difficult to change. And then the degree of individual influence. There are things that you cannot influence and you have no control over. And that is why that is easier to change attitude or behavior if you have influence or control over, and it's difficult on the other side. And then rewards involved in dissonance. There are people, they say one thing and they do another thing. There is a dissonance existing, but they will only bring the gap closer when there is no rewards. But if there is high rewards for incompatibility, the way they behave is wrongdoing, they have a high rewards for that. Maybe financially, it will be difficult for them to change their behavior because they gain a lot with their wrongdoing and with their wrong behavior. So if there is high rewards, there is less possibility to bring the change in the behavior or attitude. They like to behave and have the attitude which is highly rewarding for them. Moderating variables. We just spoke about the importance of the attitude, correspondence to behavior, accessibility, existence of social pressures, and finally personal and direct experience of the attitude. What we see here, the importance I explained of it. The second one is correspondence to behavior. You know, specific attitudes are very much corresponding to specific behaviors, and general attitudes are corresponding to general attitudes. For example, someone says that I would work only for 6 months. Even when they join a job, I would only work for 6 months and I'm looking for another job. That is a very specific attitude, and that is very much related to turnover and leaving the job, quitting the job, more closely with that one. But someone with a general attitude may have corresponding to a behavior which is more general, not specific. And then accessibility. Accessibility is related to access to your memories. If you have closer and easier access to the memories of the things that you're talking about or expressing frequently, then the more chances for repetition and continuation of those attitudes or behavior. When you talk about an attitude frequently, talking about your country, talking about your people frequently, it is going to be more accessible in your memories. And you behave, and the relationship between that attitude and your behavior, what you're doing to your country or to your friends or someone special you know, if you're talking about him or her more frequently, it is going to be accessible to, the memories will be accessible easily, and then you behave, the behavior will be more, corresponding to the attitude than when you have, a distant memories of the things or expressions that you have. And then existence of social pressures. There are a lot of things that you think and feel different than what you're doing in the society because of the social pressures. Because the social pressures requires you to do things in certain ways that causes dissonance. That is not the way you think, that's not the way you feel. But because of the social pressures, you do that one. So that is another, moderating variable that is determining the way, how your attitude is corresponding to your behavior. And finally, personal direct experience of the attitude. An example, someone who has the direct experience, he is in a better position, and the attitude and the behavior is very much corresponding and related. If a student of a university is asked how you would like an authoritarian supervisor, he doesn't have the experience. His behavior and his attitude, how he thinks about it, is different from someone who works with in an environment where he has or she has a authoritarian boss or supervisor. So that is why someone who has the experience and of the kind of situation you explain has a better and clear relationship between attitude and the behavior. Or you talk about an unmarried man and woman talking about marriage life and how you feel you have this kind of wife or this kind of husband, because they have not experienced it. They don't have that kind of experience. Someone has it. Predicting behavior from attitudes. These are actually repetition of all what I said earlier. You say important attitudes have a strong relationship to behavior. If you think that the way you think, the way you feel, it is important to you, it will definitely be translated to the behavior that is corresponding to that attitude. The closer the match between attitude and behavior, the stronger the relationship. The specific attitudes, as I mentioned, predict specific behavior. And general attitudes predict general behavior. The more frequently expressed an attitude, the better predictor it is. Someone talking frequently about something, you definitely have a strong view of the ability to predict his behavior because he's talking about it frequently. That is very easily accessible to him when he is behaving, because it's the memories is easily accessible. High social pressures reduce the relationship and may cause dissonance. As I mentioned, you feel and think one way, but under social pressures you behave in a different way. And attitudes based on personal experience are stronger predictors. Because someone who has experience, the way you see the attitude, you can easily link that to a kind of behavior you expect from him or from her. What are the major job attitudes? Our discussion here was mainly about attitudes and job satisfaction. How satisfied we are with our jobs and what major job attitudes are. The first job attitude is job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is also one of the ultimate human outputs that is expected from when organizational behavior is considered as a way to establish good organizational management. One of the outputs are variables in the end which are dependent, because we have independent variables and then we have dependent variables. All the variables at individual level, group level, and organization level, they end up to something we call it dependent variable, which are listed as outputs, human outputs. One of them is job satisfaction. And all managers and leaders, they try to have satisfied people to work with. If they are satisfied with their jobs, then they are more productive, they're performing well, they contribute more, and they bring more to the table. Job satisfaction is said a positive feeling about the job resulting from an evaluation of its characteristics, because any job can have different characteristics, from pay to the nature of the job, co-workers, relationships, supervisor, and all of them. These are characteristics of a job that you look into different characteristics and summing up altogether, overall being satisfied with your job or being unsatisfied with your job. That is the first thing. And the second thing is job involvement. Job involvement is very important. Even it is also having its connection with the job satisfaction. The job involvement is defined as the degree of psychological identification of the person with the job. You're psychologically identifying yourself with a job, and then you have an understanding or feeling how important your performance is and how it is giving to you a worth. So it's a personal worth for you. When your performance becomes so important to you, then you identify with a job and you psychologically get attached to that job. That is called a job involvement, or you feel that the job you're doing is important and give us a feeling of self-worth. Until you get to that level, you are not involved in job. You're involved only when you feel that the job you're doing is important and you're psychologically attached to that job, and then you feel a self-worth in doing that job. And then psychological empowerment. These are interrelated but a bit different. Psychological empowerment is the belief in the degree of influence you have over the job. Every one of you have certain areas of responsibility. If you have a degree of influence over the job, that is one level of what we call it psychological empowerment. And then you have control over the competence. the competence you have influence over it, and you have a meaningful job, and you have influence over making the job meaningful. And finally, you have an autonomy, some level of autonomy to do your job. If the manager, supervisor is able to provide all these opportunities and these environment for the staff, they will get psychologically empowered, they will get involved with their job, and definitely they will be satisfied with their jobs. Another major job attitude is organizational commitment. Normally, three job attitudes are always considered in management: job satisfaction, job involvement, and organizational commitment. Because these are first one is specific that the person is satisfied with the job. The second one is how involved he or she is with the job, and the third one is organizational commitment. The organizational commitment is an important output in the organization management. Identifying with a particular organization and its goals. Identifying with the organization and its goals to the level that you want to be a member of that goal. And you're willing to maintain membership in the organization. You wish to, and when willing to be part of that organization. It is not just here to have a salary, but you feel committed to that organization, that you want to be, forget about everything you get from the organization, but you feel committed to be a member of that organization. That is called organizational commitment. And then this organizational commitment has three dimensions. The first one is affective or emotional attachment to the organization. We, for any reason, for values, for anything you can imagine, you are emotionally attached to that organization. Forget about, you don't like your supervisor, but you like that organization. Still, it attracts you to not to leave that organization because of the organization itself. And then continuance of commitment, probably economic value of staying. It keeps you committed to stay in that organization. And then moral, ethical obligations that you, through that organization, for example, you feel that you deliver enough and what you want to deliver to the target people that you want to serve. You realize that these are different reasons, but probably for many people, organizational commitment comes from values and from the ethics that we talk, that we deliver through that organization, and then we feel emotionally attached to that organization. And organizational commitment, they say, has some relationship to performance, especially for new employees. People who are committed to an organization, they have better performance. They do better performance, especially for those who are coming as new employees. They come to WHO, and for the first few months or years, they are performing better. But later, it flattens. Probably not, that's not going, higher and higher. But in the beginning, for new employees, it's a fact that they perform better when they are organizationally committed. Of course, they say that nowadays occupational commitment is more important than organizational commitment. But still, you find a place as an organization that you want to promote your occupation, and you have occupational commitment that is possible and more effective and productive through certain organizations, then you develop organizational commitment as well. And yet, more major job attitudes. There are other job attitudes that are important, but the three ones, job satisfaction, job involvement, and organizational commitment, are the top three that is mostly under consideration and evaluated. But there are other attitudes that are important. Perceived organizational support. that is the degree to which employees, they think their contribution is valued in the organization, and their needs are met, and care is provided for their well-being. If you think the organization or the team or the management is considering your collaboration valuable and they care about your well-being, then you feel that you're supported and you have the perceived organization support. That is another variable that we look into attitudes. Higher when rewards are fair. When rewards are fair to everyone, when in the decision making, everybody is involved, individuals are involved, and when the supervisor is seen as supportive. These are three main, actually variables that is making people feel they have organizational support. The first one is fairness in the reward distribution. The second one is involvement of individuals in decision making. And the third one is that the supervisor is supportive. If they have these three components or elements of organizational support, then they feel that they have perceived organizational support. Employee engagement. Of course, there is another expression, OCB, organizational citizenship behavior. They say that, I will tell that one first. Organizational citizenship behavior is said as a voluntary willingness to do things beyond your TR or beyond your obligation in the organization. That is something voluntary. It's not in your TR. There are many of us around this table that we are doing things for the organization that are not part of our responsibilities in our TR. For example, we are not supposed to work at 11 o'clock in the night, but when I send an email to colleagues, they do it. That is voluntary contribution. You are not obligated to work at 11 o'clock for WHO. You are not paid for that. But when you're asked to give me some information, you go through it and work for 2 hours in the midnight to provide me the information that I needed in the morning. That is something voluntary, and you do it. And that is called organizational citizenship behavior. You feel yourself a citizen of the organization, and you, like you're a citizen of a country, you don't need the country to pay you for something. You do whatever you can to your country because you're a citizen of that country. The same is for the organization. If you reach that level of citizenship, then you're doing things voluntarily to the organization, even if you're not required by administrative or managerial obligations. So they say that those people who have high level of perceived organizational support, or POS, they are also, it's related to the higher level of organizational citizenship behavior. Employee engagement. Employee engagement is another job attitude that we discussed. The degree of involvement, the degree with our satisfaction, and the degree of our enthusiasm. You are involved, the degree you're involved, the degree you're satisfied with, and the degree you are enthusiastic to do things. That is called engagement. Because involvement is a lower level, but engagement is a stronger level. If you go to the engagement level, you're engaged when you're involved, because involvement is one part, and then you're satisfied with your involvement, and then you are enthusiastic to do the job. You have three elements together making employee engagement. Employees are engaged. How many of you are engaged? Just raise your hands.
I'm married.
Huh? so you think you're involved, you're satisfied, and you are enthusiastic to do the things. That is engagement. If you have that level, that is That's a credit to the organization and the credit to your manager. Engaged employees are passionate about their work and company. So, you're passionate. You're not only doing things because you're supposed to do. You're passionate to do those things. And you feel satisfied, you feel enthusiastic, and you feel passionate to do those things. That is the highest level of involvement. Then now we come into job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is one of the job attitudes that is always evaluated and assessed. And we do the measurement of the job satisfaction in order to see how we can improve our performance as an organization, as a team. We need to have people be satisfied with their jobs, that we can get them do the job better or perform better. And for that we have two ways to do the assessment. That's what the global rating, they call it. You just give a 1 to 5 rate of least satisfied, highly satisfied. Then you give numbers from 1 to 5 and ask people if you're satisfied with your job or not. But also there is another way that the summation score. They say many questions on average they ask from different elements or characteristics of a job that you are satisfied with or not. That is more going with how satisfied you are with the pay, how satisfied you with your co-workers, how satisfied you are with the supervisor, with the environment, with the work itself. Then you get a summation, a score of all those elements. But the easiest one is more it's more used as you just ask questions from people if they are satisfied with their job or how satisfied they are with their jobs.
So, sir, and also they can, in our organization, they can see the APM days. There's another way, you are watching the supervisor payments and also the second house payments, all these you are judging, how much you are satisfied with the current job.
That is about very specific. That's the satisfaction between the staff and the supervisor. But generally, still maybe the staff and the supervisor, they agreed on the EPM days, but still the staff may not be satisfied with the job he is doing, because that is more of the performance that is objective based. But generally, you may have satisfied people. We may not have satisfied people in the same group of people who pass all these procedures. Then, all people satisfied in their jobs is a question. In many countries, they say that, for example, in the Western world, they say mostly, including US, people are more satisfied with their jobs because of those elements that I discussed. But in the Eastern cultures, it's less satisfied people. It's generally the research shows that less people are satisfied with their jobs in the Eastern cultures than in the Western cultures. And of course, one thing, pay and promotion are the most problematic elements. That there are many people, they are not satisfied with their pays and with their promotion. That is one of the areas that maybe it's not well considered in the organizations, or the people, they expect more than what they deserve.
Just one another thing here, like in mostly the Eastern countries, maybe the people do not get the job what they want, but they're hired because of the needs there. I'm specialized in some certain areas, but I cannot find that job, so I join a different job, like maybe I'm a financial manager.
There are complex because it's easy to say satisfied or not satisfied, but if you dig into the reasons why people are not satisfied, there are so many things, so many. It's a mix of social, cultural, individual, psychological reasons in addition to pay, work, and there are so many reasons that you can find. But it's very complex. But generally speaking, it's about despotism, what they call it. That we as in this part of the world, mostly we don't have the right managers and supervisors, and they expect people, the way the way it's not practical, and they don't appreciate people. They are not fair to people. They don't involve them in decision making, as I said, and they don't provide them support for what they need, and they don't care about them. So those, even well-being of your family is responsibility of your supervisor. Because supervisor, if he doesn't care about your family at home, then you come with a mind not concentrated on the job. If I don't care about your family at home, I know that you come with a lot of burden in the office, and you are not concentrating on a job. As a good supervisor, you should be also concerned with the family welfare of people, how their families are doing at home, and how he is coming home with a good mind, with a peace of mind, and do the job well. And that is why we don't care about those things much as people in the West they do. That's why they have more satisfied people on the job than we have in our region.
So, sorry, one question. Sometimes the management or the high level management, they are giving less value to one and give more value to another.
So I talk about the fairness.
That is really affects all.
No, I already spoke about these three criteria: fairness, involvement in the decision making, and support provided to the staff. If no support provided, if there is no fairness, and they are not involved in decision making, they are not going to be satisfied. And
not listening to your opinion.
Yeah, and they will not be engaged, they will not be involved, and those are the things that are very much common in this region. Historically, not. What are the main causes of job dissatisfaction? According to some research shows that the job stress is the 32% of the causes are related to job stress. 26 is with the pay, 21% with the promotion, and 15% with the work itself, and 14% with the job security, and relationship with the supervisor and co-workers. They are less important. In another slide, it will show that work itself, it is the opposite of that, and the satisfaction level by facet. With different facets, we see the work itself is providing satisfaction to many people. What work you're doing, it gives you a level of satisfaction. Higher level of satisfaction comes from the work itself. And then the lowest satisfaction comes from promotion and pay, because instead people are not convinced that they are given the deserved promotion, or they don't get enough in pay. These are the lowest satisfying facets for job satisfaction. Okay, now we come to the next level: employee responses to dissatisfaction. What the employees are doing when they are not satisfied with their jobs. There are four boxes or quadrants here that you can see, from destructive to constructive and from passive to active. There are four groups of people what they are going to do when they are not satisfied. The first one is the aggressive one is the exit. These people, they say that their behavior is directed toward leaving the organization. They don't want to compromise, they don't want to fix something, they go and do the exit strategy. And the second one is voicing. This is more active but constructive. They try to voice their issues, they voice their problems, and they bring it to the attention of those responsible or those in position of decision making. Active and constructive attempts to improve conditions. That is probably the best way. That is the best way to be active voice in improving the conditions, not only for yourself but for others. And then on the destructive side and with passive is the neglect. They of course, this is the worst one. I will talk first about the loyalty. There are people who are loyal to the organization and to the program. They are not satisfied, but still they passively waiting for conditions to improve. They passively wait for the conditions. There are two groups on that side. The first one is voicing the problem, trying to make changes and improve the conditions. But there, on the contrary, there is another group who are loyal. They stay calm, they don't say anything, and they wait for improving of the condition. But then another group is the neglect. They don't like the conditions they have, and they take a passive, destructive way. What they do, allowing conditions to worsen. They neglect, even if they know something is going wrong, they neglect it. They don't want to do anything to fix something in the office. And even they know, they just pass their days, and they look for any distraction to the program, distraction to the organization. They look to that situation, that how things are worsening. They are waiting for the worsening conditions. And there are good examples everywhere. You can see that they know that one of the colleagues is taking the wrong path in doing things, and he knows that, but he doesn't stop him, and he wants him to do the wrong thing. And that is the neglect part. So these are the 4 options. Of course, relating to that, I would also like to discuss something else which is very much related, that in the human actions and behaviors, it's all directed by 2 things: deficiency and need. It's the need and deficiency that is directing our motives. Our motives are directed by, when you feel a deficiency in something or a need, that is directing you towards a certain action and movement or motive. And of course, at some point you may be obstructed. You're obstructed with that move. And you have 4 options. The first option is aggression. That's the exit, I say. You're obstructed by someone, you fight, you quarrel, you dispute, and you do something destructive. The second option is fixation. Fixation. You fix yourself as the voice is coming. Voice. You fix yourself to find a way. They give an example. You're locked, up in a room for a night that you cannot come out, and you're thirsty in the middle of the night. And in the room you can see around there is no water, but there is a cold coffee there. And you try to find a way to open the gate. You try to find a way even to open the window. That is the fixation, find a way to go out. And the third option is the alternative way. Take the coffee. This cold coffee is there. Take it. That is to change the alternative. That is then we talk about the third choice, loyalty. That passive you look for that one, and then finally you just go to the loyalty is the last one. Neglect is that one. So then you take the last option, which is okay. I will forget about my thirst. I will just sit, see if anything. If someone comes, open the door. I will just forget about being thirsty.
So sorry. Nowadays, most of the people, they are in the last one. Loyalty. They are waiting for the changes.
So the outcomes of job satisfaction. So we talk about attitudes and how attitudes is related to job satisfaction, and then now we are talking about outcomes of job satisfaction. When you have people satisfied with their jobs, what are the outcomes? The first one is job performance. Those who are satisfied with their jobs, they have better performance. They say that satisfied workers are more productive, and more productive workers are more satisfied. Has both relationship, mutual relationship between satisfaction and performance satisfaction. And then the causality may run both ways, as I mentioned. Organization citizenship behavior, as I mentioned before, that you do things voluntarily beyond your obligations that you have in the office. Those are what they call the organization citizenship behavior. Then they say that satisfaction influences OCB through perceptions of fairness. If you feel that our supervisor is fair, you will take his call even at 11 o'clock in the night, 12 o'clock in the night, that he may have something. Otherwise, you say that, I'm sleeping, why I take his call?
Block it.
Block it. Don't take his call, that's it, because he would not expect you to be awake at that time. Then customer satisfaction. We are all dealing, of course it's more business oriented, but we are all dealing with people. In today's business, they say people comes first. You take care of the people, business take care of itself. You take care of the people. So the people who are satisfied with the jobs, they will provide better customer service. As one of the Caterpillar is one of the biggest machinery industries in the United States. They did an assessment of their fairness and engagement, and finally they changed their policies for those things that they take care of their staff and employees. They realized that there was 80% improvement in the customer service, and there was same improvement in other areas, but in the customer service alone there was an improvement of 80%. So you're all dealing with people outside WHO. So if you're satisfied with your jobs, definitely you will give a better impression of WHO to people outside WHO. That those are your customers. Okay. Maybe national, NGOs, whoever are working with us as customers, we provide better services and better customer service and satisfaction to them. Absenteeism is one of the other 5 or 6 human outputs that we have in as aims of the organizational behavior. Is absenteeism. Satisfied employees are moderately less likely to miss work. Those who are satisfied, they report to the office regularly, and they rarely miss the office hours, and they are better attendance in the office. More outcomes of job satisfaction. Turnover. You have less turnover when we have satisfied people in the organization. You will have less turnover. Of course, one thing I would say in Afghanistan, because we don't have a lot of job opportunities, there are people who are not satisfied but still stick to the job. That's an exception. But if you have open market, that there are other job options, if people are not satisfied, they will leave the job. And workplace deviance is another thing that, as I mentioned before, deviance is kind of things that is not good for the organization, not for the team, and you do destructive things in the organization, making noise, going all the time, sitting, socializing in the rooms, having tea, having food, in an office hour, getting together, just chatting and laughing. That is a deviance. As according to management, if you occasionally it's good to socialize, but if people are socializing regularly in the office, that is workplace deviance. It's defined as workplace deviance. So that is happening when people are not satisfied with their jobs. If they are satisfied, they will not do those things. That's not only disrupting the normal process of work, but also it gives a wrong message to other staff that, okay, you can enjoy yourself when you're in the office. It's not the right way to do it. So finally, we come to the question that there is a wide evidence that job satisfaction is very critical. It's at the bottom line in organizational management. Still, many supervisors and many managers, they don't pay attention to this important issue. That is something globally, known, that they are not concerned much about it, or they overestimate the level of satisfaction. They think that all my staff are satisfied. They overestimate the satisfaction of their staff. Maybe there are a lot of them, they are among the loyal groups, or neglect groups, but the supervisor doesn't know that. They overestimate that, oh, Niazi is very happy with me. I don't know if he's happy. That is one of the bottom line, a statement that in the end of the chapter is saying that despite the overwhelming evidence of the impact of job satisfaction as a bottom line, but still many supervisors, they're not concerned about it, or they overestimate the level of satisfaction of their staff. So, summary and managerial implications. If you're a manager, why you need to know about attitudes and job satisfaction? Managers should watch employee attitudes, because employee attitudes could be a warning. You see someone is having certain attitudes, it could be a warning for some destructive behavior later. Because if you know the relationship of every attitude with some behavior, then it gives you a warning sign when you see some attitude with them. The attitude, as I mentioned, it influences behavior. So if you know the attitude, then you know the expected behavior. Managers should try to increase job satisfaction and generate positive job attitudes. Based on this knowledge and these skills that you learn as a manager, you try to increase job satisfaction to your staff if you would like to have good citizens of your organization, if you want to have committed staff, if you have satisfied staff, if you have involved staff or engaged staff,